Hello, welcome back to Latitude Bombay and Beyond. And today we're going a little bit beyond, down to the south of the U.S., New Orleans. On a day like today, we have about 8 inches of snow here in West Virginia, and it's getting close to Fat Tuesday. Even though a good bowl of gumbo would be good today, we're going to make one of the staples of the Madi Gras festival, a king cake. A king cake is really not a cake. It's like a cinnamon roll, but made with a real rich brioche type dough. And it is super easy, super delicious, and we're going to go ahead and make it for you. And this recipe doesn't make but one, but two of these wonderful cakes. So let's get started. I'll see you in a few minutes, and we're going to make a delicious king cake. Okay. Our king cake consists of 3 parts: the dough, the filling, and the icing. Our dough is going to start off with 1 cup of milk that will scald in a minute, half a stick of butter, 3/4 cup of room temperature water, 1 tablespoon plus another half cup of granulated sugar, 2 packs of yeast, a 3/4 of a teaspoon of kosher salt, 5 1/2 cups of flour, 2 egg yolks plus 1 egg, a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and a tablespoon of vanilla. And you may be like, what is this? This is actually homemade vanilla I made. All it is simply vanilla beans that are cut in half and put into an alcohol spirit. This is white rum, and it has made a really good flavor. So next thing we're going to talk about is our filling. And it's going to start off with 1 cup of light brown sugar, tightly packed, a 1/2 cup of toasted nuts. These are walnuts, but traditionally in New Orleans they use pecans. A stick of melted butter that'll be melted, a 1/2 cup of flour, and a 1/2 cup of dark raisins. And then the glaze for our king cake is 2 to 3 tablespoons of milk, 2 cups of powdered sugar, and about 1/4 teaspoon of our 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of our vanilla. So let's get started. One thing is, to make this, you will need the assistance of a KitchenAid or a stand mixer that has a dough hook, because there is a lot of kneading. So when I come back, I'll have my milk scalded, and we'll get ready to make our king cake. Okay, while our milk is scalding, and scalding is nothing more than bringing milk up to heat and start receiving bubbles around the edge. So next thing is, we're going to make our yeast mixture, and the first thing goes in is our 2 tablespoons of white sugar, and then our 2 packages of dry yeast. If you don't have the packages, 2 1/4 teaspoons equals 1 package. So I'm going to sprinkle this on there. And we're going to let this start to bloom a little bit. And the reason we do this is to make sure our yeast is active and also get it ready to turn into the dough. A couple of little things about the king cake that makes it so interesting is the tradition is a small plastic baby doll is put into the cake. And whoever gets the king cake with that piece that has the baby doll, they're treated like the king of Madi Gras. But there is a catch. The next year, they have to supply the king cake and the party at their house. So, I'm not going to be doing that. But also another thing is, the icing is usually white, and then it's decorated with sanding sugar in the 3 colors of Madi Gras: a gold, a green, and a purple. Since I have about 8 inches of snow, we're not going to have any of that. We're going to probably just have some gold sugar on it today. But there's a lot of tradition and a lot of things. And if you can look here, you can even see our yeast is starting to grow a little bit. So I'll see you back after our milk is scalded. Okay. It's been about 15 minutes, and this is what our yeast has turned up to. A great proof. Also, in our milk that we scalded, I put our 1/2 stick of butter and teaspoon of yeast. And I'm going to go ahead and pour that directly into the mixing bowl of my mixer and scrape it out. With this, we're going to now add in, first thing we're going to add in is our kosher salt. And that's a teaspoon. And if a recipe calls for kosher salt and you do not have it, use half the amount of like table salt. Next thing I'm going to do is my 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. I can find my nutmeg scraper. And all I'm going to do is just, yeah, you know, stuff happens with me. If I can make a mess, I do. So let's go ahead and grate in about that much of a fresh nutmeg. And we're going to get that really good there. Next thing I'm going to put in is our yeast mixture. And so with the yeast, it'll be, and we're just going to scrape this out. And let me put this over in the sink so I don't make a mess. Or let me scrape some out too. A lot to scrape out. With this dough, it's definitely a little bit different than our traditional dough, but there's a lot of good stuff in it. Next thing I'm going to add in is 2 egg yolks and 1 whole egg. With the 2 egg yolks, the reason I'm adding them instead of the whole eggs, the yolks make it tender because the whites have a tendency to dry stuff out. So we're going to go ahead and put in our 1/2 cup of granulated white sugar. And this smells really good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go over to the mixer and start making the dough. Okay, now we've got our liquid ingredients. I'm going to start out by adding 1 cup and a half of flour. The recipe should take approximately 5 to 5.5. It'll probably take a little bit more today since it's very humid out, because flour is humidity controlled. And I'm just going to cut on low speed and let it start doing mixing up. And this will make a very sticky dough. And I'm going to add in another 1/2 cup. So we've got 2.5 cups in here so far. And the secret is we are going to keep it on a very low speed to make it so we don't have to clean up a mess. Okay. And notice how it's starting to form dough. So I'm going to cut it up just a little bit. So I'm going to add in our 1/3 cup of flour. And then after this has been blended in, I'm going to go ahead and scrape it down. As you can see, we're already starting to form a dough. I'm going to go ahead and get This just scrape this down a little bit and go in with our 4th cup of flour. And I'm going to push it back a little bit just so we can get, because my mixer is, sometimes will walk across my counter. But as you can see, we're just letting it okay. Also, in the scalded milk, I did dissolve half a stick or a 1/4 cup of butter. See here, it's starting to form a nice dough, and we're going to add in. This makes 5½ cups of flour. And just keep doing this until we get a nice dough forming. I'm going to go ahead and cut her up to the medium speed, and we're just going to let it go. Okay, like this now. I'm going to now knead it for approximately 5 to 8 minutes until the dough is very smooth. So I will see you back in about 5 minutes. Okay, here we are. I've kneaded it for about 5 minutes in the machine, and then I've just done some, a little bit of hand kneading. It's a heavy dough, but yet it's very smooth. And as you can see, it's nice and tight. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of cooking spray and spray out the bowl I mixed it in. Throw it in, just sprinkle a little bit on the top. Okay. Now what we're going to do is cover it and let it proof for about 2 hours. So in about 2 hours, I'll see you later.
Well, it's completed now. I've had some technical issues. I have a brand new camera. This is the first time I've ever worked with it. I don't have the other 2 segments, but I'm going to explain to you what I did. After the dough rose, I took and punched it down, divided the dough into 2 parts, rolled them out to about a 9 by 15 inch rectangle, and took half of our mixture that we made with the cinnamon brown sugar, spread that on it, which that filling, and then we spread that on, rolled it up, made the ring with it, and then we let it rise again. Mixed up a little glaze out of 2 cups of powdered sugar, 3 tablespoons of milk, and about a teaspoon of vanilla. They baked at 375 degrees for 25 minutes, and they were wonderful. They almost remind me of what my grandmother made as what she called a Swedish tea ring. But this is a little bit different, wonderful flavor. And the thing with the recipe making 2, you can make one and freeze it. But I want to thank you for watching today, and join me next time when we go to cook over the globe. Thank you and have a great day.